After the armor nerfs and after people got the best gear in the game, there is a couple warriors that are pushing to the top of the leaderboards as Fury, that's right. No longer Arms is the only viable build for you. As far as I know, this is the best Fury warrior in the world right now. Tajesk, it has an A glued to an E somewhere there. This guy is playing Fury and he's getting 99s, very high 99s, like top 10 warrior 99s kinda deal. Not only that, if you take a look at the best warrior in the world, period, although the rank 1 guy, he has also, look at this Bloodthirst, he has been experimenting with Fury in some fights, because Fury is now outpacing Arms in a couple select fights. So let's break down the build that they are going. First of all, you're gonna take 5% cruelty, 5% crit, no brainer. Then we're gonna be taking Unbridled Wrath. This talent is pretty useless. If you wanna take either one of these two, you can, it's not a big deal. We're gonna be taking Improved Battle Shout, lot of attack power for the raid, of course we want that. We have to take 5 points in Enrage, not because we want Enrage, but because we want Flurry. Flurry is very important. So we're gonna be taking 4 points in Dual Wield specialization right here. We're gonna be taking 1 point in Death Wish, and then we take 5 points in Flurry right here. Every time you crit, you get 30% extra attack speed. That is insanely strong. And finally, obviously, we're gonna get the keystone talent, Bloodthirst. So as you guys know, for the most part, two-hander weapons outperform Dual Wield in general in this tier. So why are people going out of their way to go in Dual Wield? Well, the main reason is right here, this rune, Blood Surge. As you can see right here, Heroic Strike, Bloodthirst and Whirlwind have a 30% chance of give you free slams. So the big part of it, the big deal is that you can use Heroic Strike with your offhand, so you get faster and cheaper Heroic Strikes every time you do your rotation, and that's gonna give you free slams. That's gonna make you very rage efficient. If you take a look at the logs of the Fury Warrior, slam is about 6.78% of their damage, meanwhile the Arms Warrior is 13.88%, okay, like it would seem like their slams are worse, but in reality it is much better, because the slams in Fury are free, and the slams in Arms are precise timing, or they have a long cooldown with Blood Surge, so if you were like full best in slot, you have to go precise timing in Arms. So do not look at slam like less damage, look at it like free damage. Also, another nice quirk of this build is that if you take a look at it here, Mortal Strike, Alundo, these two guys right here, Jesk, Alundo, they are like very similarly in gear. Epic weapons, epic everything, best in slot almost. They are missing like 2 items. If you look at Alundo, Mortal Strike, his average Mortal Strike is hitting for 558 damage. Meanwhile, Bloodthirst is hitting for about 583 damage. What does it mean? It means that Bloodthirst, once you get the absolute best in slot gear in this tier, is slightly better than Mortal Strike. Of course, Bloodthirst doesn't care if you got a 100 or a 200, so you can dual wield with this and you're still gonna do the same 583 damage because of it scales with attack power. I made a video about Devastate a couple days ago explaining like the curve, and if you look at Bloodthirst, it's basically a straight line that goes really steep. Bloodthirst scales extremely well. Mortal Strike starts very strong because even if you don't have any gear, if you got a slow two-hander, it's gonna do a lot of damage, but it falls off because this one scales with attack power much better. So you got more Heroic Strikes, and also you have Bloodthirst being able to proc Blood Surge, and that gives you a really high uptime on your slams. Bloodthirst is better anyway, and that is basically the main synergy of this build. Then for the chest, we're gonna be taking Flagellation, and we're gonna be taking Single-Minded Fury, because dual wield damage, of course. Then for the legs, we're gonna be taking right here, you can take either Consumed by Rage or Furious Thunder. I have seen them take both depending on the fight. If you're fighting more than 2 enemies, you can go Furious Thunder, otherwise you can go Consumed by Rage. As far as I know, I checked out Alondo's stream, he doesn't try to proc it. He changed builds like twice in the same raid, it was pretty interesting to see. So I don't think even he like fully figured out how to play this build most optimally. But I have seen them play Consumed by Rage, and I have seen them play Furious Thunder. Consumed by Rage got nerfed to the ground, and Furious Thunder is a tanking rune, so neither of them are great damage. And finally for the feat, they are gonna be taking right here Rallying Cry, That's basically the only decent one you can get, the only one that helps you. It's just like a last stand. It's a defensive cooldown here, every single one of them, so it doesn't really matter. You can take whichever you like. Your stat priority is gonna stay the exact same. You're gonna take the weapon skill gloves you can get in gnomeregan. There are some gloves that give you fist weapon skill, because the best weapons are fist weapons. Otherwise, it's hit, and then you go for strength. Attack power is everything in Fury. Attack power was already better than crit in arms, and in Fury it is so much more than that. Strength, attack power, super important. Then of course you're gonna be taking agility or crit below that. So your rotation, the rotation is gonna reveal a weakness that this build has. If you are gonna take a look at the talents right here, we do not have tactical mastery anymore. So overpower can work. You can overpower sometimes. If you're like quite literally zero rage, you can go to arm stance, battle stance and overpower, but for the most part overpower is not gonna be part of your rotation anymore, and that is a huge loss, okay? Overpower is huge, but for the most part it's pretty much the same as arms, just you take Bloodthirst instead of Mortal Strike. First of all, you wanna do any proc or slam that you can. If you get the Blood Surge proc, you immediately slam. Or after that you're gonna be doing Whirlwinds. After that you're gonna be doing Bloodthirst. If you still have rage left over, you're gonna need a weapon swing timer. I'm gonna leave a Weakaura for one of those in the description. That's pretty good. You are gonna need a swing timer that shows you the swings of both of your weapons, and you wanna do a heroic strike right before your offhand goes off. One little interesting quirk about vanilla warriors, for whatever reason, when you heroic strike with your offhand, you're not affected by the hit penalty anymore, so you are gaining a lot of damage effectively on average, heroic striking with your offhand, more than the heroic strike bonus on its own. Of course, any of your weapon swing abilities is much better than heroic strike, but if you are rage capping, and with this build there is a pretty decent chance that you are gonna be rage capping, heroic strike is a very efficient way to dump your rage. For your AoE rotation, and this is the part that is gonna show the main weakness of this build and why you see Alaundo in particular, why is he taking right here? Why is he respecing in the middle of the raid to go from Mortal Strike to Bloodthirst? Why is he changing specs between fights? The reason for that is that Fury AoE, or cleaving really, warriors do not have AoE, Fury cleaving sucks. First of all, any weapon swing with cleave costs you 20 rage. If you have a slow two-hander, that is so much better than a small one-hander, because it costs you the same, you might as well do a big hit with it. Second of all, you lose Sweeping Strikes. Sweeping Strikes is one of the most efficient abilities in the game. It is one of the reasons that arms is so good, and seeing it gone is very sad. So I guess your AoE rotation is cleave. That's it. I hope that answers your question. You can Thunderclap. The good news about this build is that you can change 2 runes here. You can take Endless Rage, and you can take here Frenzied Assault, and you can have a really decent two-hander. So if you are Fury and you have to go into a cleaving fight, for example Grovis, that's a very common fight, for example Mechanical Menagerie, in those fights where arms would have performed better, there is a really good argument that you should just take a two-hander and change runes. If you have a decent two-hander that you can swap into, just take that and do that in the AoE fights. So no, for the most part, this build is not going to be optimal for any situation really. It is very close, but never the best. The thing that I really like, and I am playing this build right now, and that's weird because I am not even a DPS, but why is this build so awesome? Okay, you can take this exact build and you can do very excellent threat. This is almost exactly the build that a tank would take. You just change these 5 talents for this and you're a tank. Okay, so you can tank a raid just fine with these talents. Of course, you gotta change all your runes. You can do two-handed Fury. Let's say you get the epic axe, you can do two-handed. Let's say you get the epic one-handed and the other fist weapon, you can do dual wield. You can play every playstyle of the warrior in this talent build right there. And I think that's the main achievement, the main good thing about this build. One thing that we are gonna see next phase, because we can already see it happen now, is that as people are getting more gear, arms is getting left behind. Arms starts very good and then it starts falling off because Bloodthirst is 45% of your attack power. For a comparison, a quick comparison, Mortal Strike is your weapon damage, so you have a lot of base damage, and that's what makes arms very strong when you start the tier. And after that, If you have a 3.4 speed weapon, the speed of the weapon changes it a little bit, but as you can see here, it is only 24% of your attack power, meanwhile Bloodthirst is 45, so Bloodthirst eventually will outscale even the best weapon in the game. TLDR, why should you want this build? If you wanna play tank and DPS, this is the only build you can go for, it's good. If you get the epic 100 and you wanna dual wield, that's basically the only build you can go for. If you're one of these insane guys that like spends like a week planning their parsing so you can be the rank 1 in the world, and there is like 3 fights where this is better than the arms build. If you only if you have the best gear in the game. For most intents and purposes, if you wanna only DPS, ARMS is gonna be the way to go for you. You are probably not popping 20 consumables and getting all the best in slot gear right now. If you are, go ahead, play Fury. Otherwise, I like this build. Subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.